Does Brittany Kreider have a slideshow or PowerPoint that she's going to
I
present?
most certainly do. So
Okay.
when we're ready, I can share my screen and we'll pull it up that way.
Yeah, John,
Okay.
you'll have to allow her to share the screen when
Oh,
she's
yes.
okay.
Awesome.
See, right now I'm sharing my screen so that we can see the slideshow that's going on right now. And she'll do the same.
When I tried to share the screen, you had it blocked.
No, I didn't.
Okay. That's what
that was it.
My machine is lying to me.
Yes. No, I didn't do anything.
Well, you're in control of who can share the screen. Your screen.
Right.
Okay. How many people have checked in so far, John?
9.
9.
Now we have 13.
You said you like seeing the flowers.
Here's
Hi, Gail.
No.
Oh, I bet you can.
it doesn't show up.
Well, you have to go over here.
Here?
Click on those 3 dots. No. See those 3 dots? Click on them. Start video. Oh, it's not very clear.
Why did you mute me, John?
Well, I was muting everybody so that,
Oh,
because there was
okay,
some
well.
back. Oops. Is that me?
Well, everything seems fine. How many people have checked in?
We now have 13, and one is, now we're going to have 14.
Do you, Chris, do you and John recognize? I'm not seeing any of the names. That's probably.
Oh, they're not on your screen over there to the side?
Let's see. View options. Is that where I need to go, Chris?
Participants. You can click on that.
Participants. Yeah, okay. 15. Yeah, I see. All right. Now I have a list anyway. Hello, Caroline.
Hi there. Hey. It's good to see you.
I'm having trouble. This is my wife's machine.
Excuse.
Uh-oh. Says Lynn Stokes Zoom meeting in 5 minutes. What the heck is that? I'm going to have to ask her about that. Well, in the few minutes until we're supposed to start, does anybody have any questions about the Dallas Sierra Club?
Oh, what's a good question about the Dallas Sierra Club?
I don't know.
Well, you're the chair. What's coming up next?
Here, I'm trying to see who's checked in here. Sierra Carter. Samsung checked in?
I have asked, I haven't received any message
Heck,
back from Samsung about who that actually is.
I see. Oh, that's interesting. What do you think about that, Chris?
What's that?
Somebody checked in called Samsung, SM-T817V.
That's their tablet or phone. They never renamed it as Chris's phone or what.
Okay.
I
Somebody, yeah.
see that Dale has a beautiful view behind him, and I'm wondering if that's is that really your view there, Dale? He's muted. I guess
John,
I'm speaking to him.
no,
Dan-
it's me again. Have you muted him, John?
Oh, I had muted everybody, but he can unmute himself.
Yeah, but they may not realize that you muted him.
Let me see if I can find him.
Just unmute
Oh, there it
everybody.
is.
Unmute everybody. We're supposed to be talking now.
Yeah. Paul Westbrook is on
Okay, Dale is unmuted now.
a while.
Okay.
Where is Paul? You see Paul?
All I see is name and participants.
Paul, can you hear us?
He's got his camera muted. I mean, his camera off and his
Yeah.
mic
And,
muted.
and he's muted. Who is Paul Westbrook?
Oh, he's the guy that built one of the most phenomenal energy efficient houses you can imagine.
Also,
And designed the great lab or fab for Texas Instruments that is very highly energy efficient.
world-class fab on Renner Road, our newest one, and there's another one like it under construction now. He also spoke to our group a few years ago about one of his trips out in Arizona. I can't remember the name of it, but a very spectacular place.
Hey guys, this is Paul here. Thanks for the nice words. It was the wave. The wave.
Oh yeah, I
Arizona.
remember the wave.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
And what are you up to these days, Paul?
Oh, I'm just enjoying life after retiring from TI. I've been doing just a little bit of consulting. I'm working on a building manufacturing plant going into Garland to help them be extremely energy efficient and sustainable. And I'm trying to convince them to do solar, large scale, 1 megawatt solar system too. So we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Oh, wow. Terrific.
Yeah, that's great. Keep us informed on that.
Will do.
And let's see. Jasmine.
Yeah,
I saw a picture come up.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, it is on my watch just after 7 o'clock.
We have 27 people online right now.
Okay, well, we're supposed to start at 7, so perhaps we should start.
Okay, I'm admitting another one right now.
Welcome to the Dallas Sierra Club's monthly meeting. We will be doing this by Zoom. Well, until God knows when, I guess. And it seems to be working, so we will continue to do it. Does anybody, before we go to committee reports, does anybody have any announcements they would like to make? Nobody has any announcements?
Hi, this is Leslie Harris. I do have an announcement. And sorry to can you hear me?
Well, yes, we can hear you. It's a little rough. I guess you're doing something there.
Oh, I was trying to untape my camera that was covered up.
So, okay. Julie, what was it, Julie?
Leslie.
Leslie, it says J Harris 866.
Well, that's my email.
Okay.
I don't know why my picture isn't there, but
who are you, Leslie?
Anyway, I'm Leslie Harris. I'm with the Dallas Peace and Justice Center. And hi, everybody. And we were scheduled to have a program with Diane Wilson.
Yes.
The environmental activist who won the $50 million lawsuit.
Right.
Against background. And I believe that our executive director and Valerie.
Victoria, it's me, Leslie. It's Victoria Howard.
Oh, Victoria. Hey, Victoria. Anyway, I believe Victoria came last spring and let you know about it, and y'all were going to co-sponsor with us. So we have set that up as a Zoom webinar, and we just wanted to get you on board again and let you know that it's going to take place on October 6th at 7 p.m. Online.
What day of the week is that?
It's I think it's Tuesday. Wait, let me see here. It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday.
Is that the first or second Tuesday?
It is the first Tuesday.
Okay, then that should be okay.
Perfect.
Good. So anyway, we would like you to co-sponsor, and I guess we'll get back to you with details unless you have any questions. But we just put the Facebook page out today so everybody could see what it's about. We haven't put a registration up yet because we're still kind of refining that. But anyway,
Leslie,
we'd love you to, yeah.
Leslie, you would like to post that on the Dallas Sierra Club Facebook page. That would probably be a great first step. Or if you have some graphics that you'd like to put up, all of that is welcome.
Okay, sounds good. And this is my first event that I've done on this new Facebook format. So I'm doing the best I can, but at least, we're having an event. So that's
what is your executive director's name again?
Well, we don't have one right now. We're like in between.
Well, who was it?
At the time, it was Hadi Jawad.
Right. He came and spoke to us about this at while we were still meeting in person.
Right.
Way back.
Right.
So I think we committed to him at that time that we would co-sponsor this with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that stands.
Yeah.
We keep our word.
Okay. Sounds good. And we've worked with you before, so we know you're cool.
What happened to
Hadi?
Well, I think the position was canceled.
Canceled.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't really. You mean he was fired?
Well, I don't know. You'll have to talk to the board about that.
Okay. Well, I thought those were all volunteer positions.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have staff that, we have staff and.
Oh, we don't know much about paid staff. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Well, yes, we're still certainly willing to co-sponsor that event with you. And I don't know what we mean by co-sponsor. I don't remember if we had voted way back then on.
Yeah, Leslie, if you would like to email me again and just kind of, because everything will need to be reevaluated since we were planning in-person events,
Yeah.
and a lot different. And of course, now we only have a month to plan. So I
Right.
think rather than hash it over now, why don't you email me and we can talk about it with our board and see what you'd like and what works for us, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it because Diane is just, you know, I don't know if any of you know her, but she's just amazing. So she's fun and amazing, and she just has so many stories to tell. And I think that we'll probably be doing a couple of programs with her because she has so much history, you know, of all the things she's done as an activist. She co-created the Texas Jail Project after being in jail in federal prison and seeing the atrocious way that female prisoners are treated, and you know, just a million things. She's written 3 books, for those of you who don't know. So anyway, but I'll
Okay.
get with Victoria and we'll
Yes.
hash it out.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are there any other announcements before we go to our committee reports?
Yes, it is snowing out here in Colorado, and we've got about 2 inches on the ground.
Well, yeah.
Where are you? Where are you?
West Cliff.
West Cliff, Colorado.
Yeah, where's that near?
I know where that is. My brother was married there. It is a beautiful little town.
Thank you, Victoria.
That is
We think so. It's in south central Colorado.
Anywhere near Pagosa Springs?
No, that's about 4 hours west of
4
us.
hours west of you. You're kidding.
Well, 3.
Okay.
We're about 60 miles west of
Colorado Springs.
not
No,
Colorado,
Pueblo.
Pueblo.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thanks for that. So I guess there's no more announcements. Then we're going to go to our committee reports. And I'd like to start, as we always do. You can stop the slideshow now, John, probably, or maybe you don't want to. I don't know. That's up to you. We're going to go first to the Conservation Committee. And I would like for Chris and Dick just to briefly mention about their retirement, and that'll give us a chance to thank them. Okay, Chris and Dick?
Okay. We have decided that we need a break from being the conservation chair, and so we stepped back from that, and instantly we got such great volunteers to step forward, and so
Who would that be?
your conservation report now will be from Victoria Howard.
Are you going to continue the conservation report, Victoria?
If you'd like me to, Dan, it would be my pleasure.
Well, I mean, that's going to be up to you because that's a lot of work, isn't it, Chris? That conservation report. So, you know, you're in charge now. Victoria Howard is our new Conservation Committee chair. And by the way, do you think that Renee is going to kind of go with you, or is she going to stay? Is Renee here? Is Renee signed on? No.
She may be stuck in traffic coming back from Parkland.
Okay. Well, I have a question about Renee. You can discuss with her. Does she want to go with you and kind of help you co-chair the Conservation Committee? Does she want to stay with the Program Committee? And we're set through January, right?
February now. So everything is up. So Renee
February.
and I and Dick Gouldy will still be active in conservation. We're doing some restructuring conversations, and so that will be a stay tuned answer to your question. Of course, Dan, I will email you as soon as everything's ironed out. But yes, it will be handled and delegated, and it will be a very seamless transition, however we choose.
I just want to say to you, don't overdo it. Don't overload yourself with work so that you burn out. Okay.
Too late.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, as Dirty Harry said, a man's got to know his own limitations. A woman too.
That's right. That's right.
So,
just like Kenny Rogers, got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
yeah. So, you know, you should dictate your own workload.
Thank you.
Don't let your boat gets swamped by a lot of outside things you don't really want to do. Okay? Just want to say that.
Thank you.
So at this point, I want to have every member thank Dick and Chris for 5 years of too much hard work. and they have done just too much, really, too much. And everybody appreciates it. So they've won many awards at different levels. And these are some big shoes to step into, of course, but I want you to know you don't have to fill those shoes if it's not the right thing for you, okay? And we can always give you help.
Thank you. No, we are already having conversations throughout different groups of the Sierra Club about how we can all work in community together. But no, it is a privilege for me to be able to attempt to fill the shoes of Dick and Chris. And I want to say that I echo your thanks, Dan and Dick and Chris. Not only do I admire your work professionally, but your kindness and friendship to me personally are just priceless. And so I thank you on a myriad of levels for everything that you have done for so long. So really, thank you.
And you may change course a little bit, of course, because you're in charge now. So you will determine the direction you're going to go in now, right?
Thank you. I will.
Okay. I think that, is there anything else you want to say on Conservation Committee business, either of you, Chris and Dick or Victoria?
I would just like to briefly inform everyone that we are beginning to partner and support several groups in the Garland area that are fighting the Globe battery and also the batch plant contamination of their neighborhoods. So this is something that we will be putting on Facebook and talking about more next month. But we are looking at a high level of contamination of lead, high cancer rate, high autism rate, high, you name it. It's incredibly pervasive in neighborhoods in Garland. So as we talk next month, when we have more to say, there will be a lot of action on that front. Also with Midlothian. Midlothian is having some pollution issues. So there will be lots of good things for people to get involved with and participate in, and keep an eye on Facebook and come back next month because I will talk your ear off.
Midlothian is the home of Downwinders at Risk, correct?
Well, I think the guy that runs Downwinders, Jim Schoenbeck, actually does not live there, if I understand.
He doesn't run it. There's a board that runs it.
Okay.
But that's where I believe they're headquartered. So we have a problem. We have had a bit of a problem in the past with Downwinders, primarily because of Jim Schoenbeck.
And could we answer that for you? We know more about the history.
Okay.
The first work that Downwinders did was finding cement kilns that were burning toxic fuels, along with a committee of people that lived in Midlothian. And ultimately that made a lot of progress and finally got where it should be. Unfortunately, some of the issues are rearing their ugly heads, and Downwinders is helping them, and that's good as it should be. So we will be lending our support to that. Jim does not live in Midlothian. I'm not sure where he used to live in some part of Dallas now. So it's a nice opportunity to work on that issue with them.
Okay. So does that complete the Conservation Committee report?
Sure.
All right then, let's move on to another committee. Where do I go next? It depends on who's present. Outings. Is Liz present? I know that Mark doesn't attend these meetings. Is Liz Whelan here? No, Liz Whelan? Well then, I don't. Arthur, are you there? Hello, calling Arthur Keene. What the heck? He's supposed to talk about the treasurer's report. Arthur, are you not there? Well, one thing I can tell you about the treasurer's report is we no longer have that link to Amazon on our homepage. The reason for that is Arthur got a memo or an email from Amazon that said they were no longer going to do this program I don't know why. Arthur said they told him that you had to sponsor certain products to use that link, and that he doesn't think we can do that. And in the past, that link has brought in about, I don't know, $270 a year to the club, which isn't going to, crater us or anything, but it's just a shame that we will lose the $270 a year. But anyway, that's the way that is. So don't bother going through that Amazon link anymore because it's not even there. Still no Arthur? I wish guys would. Arthur, you should be here. You're supposed to. Okay. Then what committee should we go to next? Membership? I suppose that Ginger is not here. Ginger, are you present?
I don't think so. I believe she's at some wedding, if I saw on Facebook correctly, out of state.
Okay, and Liz Whelan is not checked in?
Mm-mm.
Okay, then David Griggs, are you checked in?
Thought I saw David.
No David Griggs for the political committee?
No. I guess the only thing is to make sure everybody knows about turntexasgreen.org. You can see all the endorsements across the state for the races in November. And also you can make contributions to turntexasgreen.org, which is very valuable to the individual candidates that Sierra Club is, through that PAC, is supporting.
And David is on the program for next month, I believe, October, before the election.
Yes.
Right, Victoria? David's on the program.
Absolutely
Okay.
correct. And it's going to be a don't miss program. I look forward to all our programs, but this is going to be especially pertinent.
Yeah, this will be the nitty gritty on the political situation and who the Sierra Club is supporting.
Also, backstories. That'll be the best part.
Backstories.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Lots of political stuff.
All right. All right, I think at this point, then we might be ready to move on to our program for this evening, which is Brittany Kreider and who else?
I've got Spencer Dudas here. He is the sanctuary manager here at the herd. So I figured with both of us together, we can make sure we get everybody's questions answered about what we're doing out here right now.
Okay. You said you had a PowerPoint presentation.
I do. So
Do
let
you
me.
want to make comments before that starts?
I absolutely can. Yeah. So with two of us here, we are going to keep chat open. So burning questions while we're going, and you just want to make sure you get it down so you don't forget it. Go ahead and throw it to Herd Museum in the chat or to everyone, either way, and we'll be watching it. We may not answer all of them immediately, obviously, but if some are pertinent to what we're talking about, we'll go ahead and answer those in the middle of the presentation. So I think that was the only thing. But I guess I'll introduce myself a little bit. My name is Brittany Kreider. I've been here with the Herd Museum for about 2 years, but I've been working for nature centers and zoos and aquariums for the last 8 years. I've done a little bit of habitat restoration myself down in San Antonio. Here, I've done more of the education role, and I do all of our outreach programs. And then I'll let Spencer introduce himself.
I'm Spencer. I've been here for about 7 years this month. I started in high school and I've just kept the job ever since in different capacities. I've worked full-time while having this part-time at the McKinney Parks Department and the City of Anna Parks Department. So kind of either doing conservation work or landscape maintenance has been my field thus far. So that's me.
Cool. So if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and pull up that PowerPoint and we can get that started. Let me share my screen first. All right, everybody good? See my screen? Got it. Awesome. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit. We do a lot of different things here at the herd, lots of different education programs. We currently have our own ropes course. We have, a native butterfly garden and a butterfly exhibit, and we've got our fingers in a lot of things right now. But one of the things that I'm really probably most excited about, and I think Spencer is as well, is what we have going on as far as restoring our native habitats and making those as great as they can possibly be. So we're just going to give you guys a little overview of what we are and then talk a little bit more about everything that we're trying to accomplish. So just a little intro for those of you who haven't been out here before. We do have 289 acres right in the center of all of the growth in McKinney. Of course, McKinney is growing incredibly quickly. We'll get into that a little bit more a little later on. We've been here since 1967. When Miss Bessie Hurd purchased this, her goal was to preserve it, and one of her main goals was to educate and to preserve this land for future generations. She was very, very passionate about children and nature both. So that goes into our goals to bring people and nature together. So as for habitats, we have 9 unique prairie sites and lots of forest, which is pretty unique for this area, as well as our wetland sites. So a lot going on in that small, just under 300 acre area. And it all requires very different care. So a lot has gone into planning and figuring out what we need to do. A little history about us. Of course, we are right in the middle of Blackland Prairie. I'm sure many of you already know a little bit about Blackland Prairie and what's happened with that and how big it used to be, how small it is now. So technically our land is Blackland Prairie, even though we have mixed prairie, hardwood, wetlands. And we were a dairy farm for many, many years. So this land was pre-purchased. It was a family dairy farm. We're not sure for quite how long it was a dairy farm, but a fairly long time, just judging by some of the clues we see across the land and how old growth some of our trees are. So I'm gonna let Spencer talk a little bit about what we've done on the prairie so far and what we know about it, just because he's our expert right now.
Yeah, so last year we kind of made a 5-year plan that is going to dictate how the sanctuary department manages the nature preserve for the next 5 years. And the biggest focus of this is to restore to the utmost and revive our 9 unique prairie sites. Because while we care about all of our habitats here, that one appears to be the most fragile and the most neglected, if you will say, for the past few years. It hasn't been a huge focus. And so while we were paying attention to other habitats, the prairies kind of fell behind. So now we're doing this. We started last year on a particular prairie site that was started probably in the 90s, and it's been called the Restoration Project for about 25 years. So it's been this ongoing plot where we've never really completed the job. And we decided last year that over the next couple years, we're just going to complete it. So last year, we got all of our volunteers together. We did a lot of hard work, a lot of tree removal. We had to remove all scores of trees and shrubs out of the prairie. We had to apply boatloads of herbicides to kill all the nasty invasive foreign grasses and forbs that had invaded the site. And we mowed it, and we raked the thatch off, and we had a very generous donation from one of our board members who supplied us with over $2,000 worth of native prairie seeds. And as you can see in the photo at the bottom right, we kind of made an event out of, restoring the prairie. We let everybody have some seeds of their own so that they could sow some in places that they wanted to at the site. And then we tractor broadcasted the rest. So I know that's a lot to take in right now, but that's the basis. It's basically reverse farming is kind of what we're doing right now. Instead of manipulating the land to suit human needs, we are restoring the land to suit the needs of the native critters that live here. So that's kind of our main goal right now.
And of course, typically our preference would be to burn these areas. That's what would be most natural and what would give us the best results. Our community has grown around us since the herd began. It was already growing then. That's why Miss Bessie Hurd felt that it was necessary to preserve this land, but it has just grown exponentially, and now our neighbors are so close. The reality of burning any of our prairies is just becoming more and more slim. This one restoration prairie, we do still have a little bit of wiggle room where occasionally we might be able to burn it. Spencer worked very, very hard to set that up this year. The stars did not align.
It usually depends on what mood the fire marshal is in, whether you can control burn. In my short experience anyways, and it kind of felt like they didn't want to deal with the headache of setting a large brush fire in the middle of suburbia. So
understandably, I guess.
Tractor mowing and herbicides is the way we had to go, and that's how it's been.
So a lot of research went into making sure we were using best practices for both the herbicides and our mowing and things like that. And Spencer's done a great job, and the effort really shows. So just a continuation of what Spencer's been talking about. We've got a little bit of information here about the herbicides we've been using. Mostly our biggest threats to our prairie that we're fighting right now, and biggest as in biggest to tackle, are of course those invasive species, but not only invasives, but our native aggressive species. So plant species that are supposed to be here, but maybe not necessarily in the prairie, and maybe not necessarily in the numbers that we see them in. So talking about having to go out and hand lop all the trees in acres of prairie just to get all those baby trees out so that the plants that we want, those grasses and forbs, have a chance. Takes a lot of time and a lot of manpower. So, and I think I mentioned earlier in the slideshow, but didn't actually talk about all of our manpower. Of course, 99% of it comes from volunteer. Spencer is our one staff member on our sanctuary team for 300 acres. So he appreciates our volunteers a lot, getting out there and getting sweaty.
We've got the just the most amazing crew of people. And we've got, they're such a diverse group. we got some tech people who have leeway in their jobs to where they could, start their tech job later in the afternoon. So they'll come out and spend mornings with us. So we got some younger people who do that. We've got retirees.
Especially right now.
Yeah. So, we've just, they're a terrific group. Sometimes I just can't find the words to say how much I appreciate our volunteer group. So I do it all.
A couple pictures here of the success we've had on the prairie, some of our desirable plants coming back, things that we get very excited to see. And of course, they're beautiful pictures. It's beautiful. Right now is a great time to come out and visit and see some of our success in that one prairie especially. It's starting to really look like a prairie. So a couple more success pictures here, our little prairie ringneck snake, and then a couple of our grasses and forbs that we're out there looking for all the time. So our other two areas I'm going to kind of lump together and talk about real quick. So our wetlands and woodlands are kind of next on our list after prairies. We have to kind of prioritize the work we're doing out here right now, not only due to manpower, but also financially as well. We just, we have to prioritize. So our wetlands and woodlands are both areas that need a lot of help. Our wetlands here, we have both man-made wetlands and natural wetlands. We are bordered by Wilson's Creek, and then we have a slough and oxbow from Wilson's on our property as well. But we do have two wetlands that were man-made. They were built to offset the construction and use of a landfill, which is now closed off. It's finished, still there, obviously, but no longer active. So those wetlands have been great for us. It brings in some great waterfowl. We now have pictures of both otters and beavers using those wetlands. We have our own heron and egret rookery every year. So great spot, heavily used, but in need of a lot of love, just due to the fact that we are in a floodplain. I believe I have those numbers in here somewhere. They may be later, but it's a large portion of our sanctuary that is in the Wilson Creek floodplain, which is currently changing. One of the things on our list in our restoration plan is to get some experts out here and to get a reassessment of the floodplain and what we're looking at, because it's doing a lot of damage. And a lot of that, of course, is due to the urban expansion in the area. We get a lot more runoff, and we're seeing lots of other problems because of that as well. I'll go back. Oh, no, that picture's later, sorry. So that's what's going on with our wetlands. I'll talk a little bit more about our issues there in a little bit. I kind of lumped all of our problems into the end because that's kind of where everything gets a little exciting and we get a little more passionate about it. So our woodlands are really unique and amazing as well. We do have a lot of old growth, which is unique for the area. One of our trees that's kind of a feature out on the sanctuary that people love to come see is a bur oak that's estimated to be somewhere near 300 years old, which, old for us here. We're going, wow, a tree that's 300 years old. So some really cool species. Most of those are hardwood bottomland species, really nice wet soil, again, that floodplain. And then we have a bunch of areas that are, of course, just more second stage succession kind of forest areas where that forest has been allowed to come in where prairie would normally be. But now we have these big, beautiful trees. So we've kept those areas. Our threats to those that we're facing to our woodlands are going to be, again, our invasive species, the ash boring beetle. There's a couple diseases, some fungi that are threatening as well. You mentioned one earlier.
Yeah, we've got an infection in our cedar forest. We've got about 6 acres of it's a complete monoculture of cedar trees, and it's got this white powdery mildew that seems to grow up from the trunk and kind of eat its way up the length of the tree. And I'm not an arborist, so I can't tell you if that's what's killing them, but I have been able to note that on most of the trees that are dead or dying, they do have that powdery mildew on them. So that's something we're concerned about for our hardwoods as well.
So we've done a tree survey. We had a volunteer graciously spend many, many hours completing a full tree survey for us. We do have a few sensitive species out here that we're worried about, our box turtles in particular, and some like that. We've got our little salamander here on screen. We do get trout lilies every year, which are a big draw as well in those wooded areas.
I would just like to point out that smallmouth salamander on your screen there. We thought, and my predecessors thought for the better part of about 2 decades, that those were no longer present at the Heard Museum sanctuary, and she found one. So I know it's a salamander, but it's a big deal to us, so just finding that was huge.
So just a few more pictures that show, that's one of our man-made wetlands there, one of our old stand sycamores on the screen, and then a picture this winter of a bald eagle that we had in our wetlands that we were grateful to get to capture on film. Before we move on in the next section, like I said, we are going to talk about a lot of the problems we face, which is where Spencer and I get pretty passionate about it. So I just wanted to take a break and see if anybody had any questions about what we've already done before I move forward with something that's probably going to get us all a little distracted.
Brittany, I have a question if I could.
Absolutely.
Could you both about a little bit what type of pesticides you chose to use and how damaging are they to the environment and water runoff?
Yes. I'm going to let Spencer talk about that because he's done all the research and he's also been the one applying them. So
yeah. So this is a touchy subject, I know, and I knew it when I brought it up. We use the big 3 that we use here are the Roundup, which is your glyphosate, and I know that there's a lot of controversy around that, and well-based controversy. There's Outrider, which its active ingredient is called sulfosulfuron, and the reason why we use that one, that's the one we use the most, is it's a very selective herbicide. So let's say, let's say that my fingers are a clump of grass, right? And I've got Johnson grass, little blue stem, big blue stem, Johnson grass. And I spray this clump with sulfosulfuron. It's going to kill the Johnson grass, and it's going to leave my natives alone. So that's why we've chosen to use that one, just because of its selective nature in leaving our desirables alone. The third one that we use is my least favorite because of its potentially harmful nature to applicators themselves. And it's called triclopyr. You may have seen it at Tractor Supply or any of your farm and ranch stores labeled as Remedy Ultra. It comes in a little orange bottle like such. It's foul smelling. The reason we use it is because we encounter a lot of troubles with a species of tree called roughleaf dogwood. And these things spread like a wildfire in our prairies, and they shoot up out of nowhere. And before you know it, your prairie has transformed from a pleasant grassland to a bunch of 5 to 10 foot tall dogwood shrubs. And this chemical, in my experience, is the only one that actually eliminates the problem. It can be very hard, in my experience, to find accurate studies one way or the other about how a chemical is going to react, because there's so much money pumped into either argument. So the practice I follow is spray what I intend to kill and nothing else. I don't use a broadcast sprayer. All the spraying that I do is it's spot spraying from a single nozzle gun, a spray gun. So I don't do any of that like you see people spraying out of a 25 nozzle 1,000-gallon tractor sprayer. We don't do that here. We do spot spraying, just to let you know. So I know that herbicides have a bad reputation, but when you're limited in how you can manage your prairie, you have to look at, maybe the herbicides have some ecological negatives, but allowing them to forest over and, turn into a Johnson grass monoculture, you pick your battles, is what I'm trying to say. So,
and it was not an easy decision.
No, it never was.
And still isn't. We can do our best to try and keep up with the research and try and make the best decisions possible. But there's really no better way to say it. We're between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
We really have very few options. And it's that important to us to do whatever we can to try and keep this little bit of prairie we have in place. Just the ecological benefit and then the education benefit, honestly, is huge. So something we struggle with. There's no reason to lie about that.
Yeah.
But right now it's the best option we have, unfortunately. But very, very well needed question.
Yeah, and of course, you know, you're speaking to an audience who, of course, is going to immediately think Roundup. Oh my God, what have you done?
Yeah.
Is this a one-time spray? Is this a maintenance spray? And in the grand scheme of things, if you're trying to put things back in a natural order, sometimes nature takes over in a way that it wants to, that may be different than what you would intend. What is the consideration of just letting it go and being what it's going to be?
We could just let it go. We will lose the prairie entirely. Which
Right.
So the in a nutshell, the simplest way I can put it is when you've got prairie grass seedlings are very sensitive and they take a long time to establish themselves, right? So the seeds that we planted last year, we probably won't start seeing those actually sprout, those native grasses, for another 2 to 3 years. And it's very hard for them to establish themselves when they have to work against Johnson grass, which creates a nasty fleshy rhizome. And it actually releases a chemical that can suppress the plants around it to give itself more room to grow. It's a nutrient deplenisher in the soil. And when you've got seedling native grasses trying to compete around dogwoods, the dogwood's going to win every time because it's a tree and the little blue stems of grass. So as much as I would really like to take the all natch approach, I'm not sure if we could here.
Yeah, and as far as, you know, just letting it go and letting whatever's going to happen. I don't think it's something we'll ever completely throw out the window. It's always a possibility to just see what happens with that. We do risk the loss of not just those plant species on this site, but many of our animal species as well that depend on those prairie sites. Our prairie sites aren't large enough to support some of the more endangered species, but we, of course, they're still important habitats for the animals we do have out here. So I think, you know, right now we're just looking at a 5-year plan. So I think right now it's we want to try, and weighing the risks and benefits of the herbicides it's always on our mind, and it's something to be ongoing.
Do your prairie sites drain into Wilson Creek?
Yes, they do.
Yep, almost all of them.
Absolutely.
Well, if I were working there, I would consider sampling for glyphosate in the creek rather regularly, especially after you've done these applications, because you really need to know what level, if any, is getting into Wilson Creek.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will talk about Wilson Creek here in just a little bit. I'll show you some pictures of how it's affecting us as well. We're, you know, of course, we're downstream from a lot right now. So even if we tested, it would be interesting to see, which we do test our other wetlands frequently. We do not test Wilson Creek. It would be interesting to see what results we got. Well, let me go ahead and we'll just jump right into a few of those. Oops, I went too far. So past and present battles ongoing. We have tons of issues, and a lot of them come from the community around us. I pulled this picture up so you guys can see it. It's obviously a screenshot from a phone. This was this spring, one of our little tiny whitetail fawns, and that picture was taken by a visitor. So this is one of many issues that we have, our own visitors here, but this problem actually came because we have residential communities building up around us, right on our border, and we have some neighbors who hand feed our wild animals, and you know, you end up with situations like this. So you know, not only are we looking at overall the growth of the North Dallas area, but also immediately around us, our neighbors, and these houses, and the impact that they're having on us. So the first picture, the top picture that you see here, is in one of our bottomland forests on our Sycamore Trail that is closest to Wilson's Creek. And you'll see in the picture lots of natural debris, but it is a every day, every hour constant battle with the trash debris that's constantly coming in. And, you know, we have all these lovely trees. Well, what that does is it traps all of the debris coming from everywhere around us. So it just ends up staying on our property. And the big pieces of trash are just what we can see with our eyes. That problem has only increased with growth because we see that floodplain getting maxed out more frequently. We have lost trails and bridges, which, you know, you think we'd learn our lesson and just not build back the trail. But we've lost trails and bridges continuously because of the massive amount of water that's flowing through our property. And, you know, yeah, trails, whatever, it is washing out our root bases. And we're losing a lot of those old growth trees, which, you know, natural things happening, but it's more what it's bringing with it than anything else. We also have recently had a little more concern with the commercial growth around us immediately on our borders. We already deal with being really close to the airport, of course, the old landfill that's on our border, but there is a piece of green space property owned by the city of McKinney that we found out just in the last couple weeks is going up for sale and is zoned for industrial. We don't know a whole lot about it, we being just Spencer and myself, and what's going on with that, and what action the herd is planning on taking. I don't think we've decided anything yet, but the general rumor, which we have no information to back it up, is that this will be a concrete grinding plant. Mm-hmm. The location that it borders on our facility is actually our most protected area. It's what we call our research area. There's no trails. No one's allowed to go back there unless they are conducting research on our sanctuary. So it would basically put an end to that, to that whole area, just between noise pollution and pollution. It would be a really difficult thing to see. So these are kind of some of the things that we're facing right now. The runoff, of course, is also bringing all of our invasive species, this Johnson grass and Bermuda grass and honeysuckle and nandina and privet.
Yeah, the privet and the nandina are the two biggest ones that I think that we get from water runoff. You know, people have those as hedges in their yard. They drop the berries, and the berries just they land on the banks, and our banks along Wilson Creek and our slough are just covered in Japanese and Chinese and Kihoi privet and nandina, that heavenly bamboo. So that's kind of what our waterways deal with, is constantly fighting invasive landscape shrubs. So, and bushes.
Yeah, the concern there is obviously not competing our native species and the risk of monocultures.
That nandina, those berries are very highly toxic to birds.
Yeah. And look similar to native berries, so the birds get confused.
Yeah, it's like snail seed. So.
I have seen dead waxwings laying all over in areas where they've been eating those berries. So it'd be nice if you could get rid of those. Any bird that eats those berries is going to die.
We're doing our best.
Our kind of maintenance routine for invasive species is we work on the grasses and the forbs that are in the prairies. We work on those in spring and summer, and then fall and winter we'll generally go after the nandina and the privet because those stay green when our native stuff defoliates, and so we can really see that pretty good in the forests and along the banks of the creek during fall and winter. So it provides good visibility to get after them. Oh, my favorite photo.
Yeah, so just another example of our community and the battles we face. This one really enrages us both. If any of you guys live or have visited McKinney often, we have many, many hot air balloons, especially when the weather gets nice like right now. Really fun to see until they land right next to your active rookery on your sanctuary. And there's not a thing we can do about it.
This particular photo, I think this was January. This balloon landed, and basically on the other side of those trees, there's another large body of water, and all types of migratory waterfowl were using that this winter. And just watching this hot air balloon descend, and they all take off, scared out of their gourds, not knowing what's going on. Yeah, it really got to us that time. That was a morning.
Many words were said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is my last one here. So another big example with our water. So in the far right-hand side of this picture where the fence is that's broken, if you look, you can see a culvert just past that fence. That is a subdivision that went in on a piece of land that the herd actually tried to buy many years ago and couldn't quite make that dollar amount, so sold to residential developers. And its runoff, I think all of it, drains directly into our sanctuary. So where Spencer's standing in this picture is our sanctuary, and so you can, it did a panoramic, so it's kind of a weird angle, but it comes right into the sanctuary. The biggest problem we're facing with this, obviously our invasives, all these other things we've talked about, they have ponds that they treat with it's an anti-algal.
It's an anti-algae.
Yeah, and it's got a dye to it, so you can see it coming in. This is a creek a little bit further. This is one of our most biodiverse creek regions on the entire sanctuary. The picture of the musk turtle, is one I took when I first came here a couple years ago, and this is one I took a couple weeks ago to show the blue color. That's just become more and more frequent. So, we talk about the pesticides and stuff we're using, it's something we have to struggle with and calculate the effects of, but we're also having to think about the effects that, people wanting their blue ponds is having on our sanctuary. So
Is that copper sulfate they're using as an algal control?
we're not even sure.
Yeah, we've
There's
never,
no communication.
Yeah, we've never really asked since I've been here, and from what I've heard, when we have asked in the past, it's kind of just like mind your own business is the attitude. But all of these subdivisions that are border us, all of the development since 2008, and I don't know how they have done this, because from my understanding of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Code, you're not allowed to send runoff like that onto your neighbor's property, if I've understood it right. But they got away with it when they built their subdivisions.
Well, and actually built into the property. I mean, the concrete you can see in the picture, it's on our side of the property. So the whole culvert somehow was built coming into our sanctuary.
Yeah. So lots of questions and no answers, on that one.
And then, just to try and finish it on an up note, we're doing what we can. We've made progress in some areas. Just a lot of hard work and a little bit of help where we can get it. So that's kind of what we're up to out here, just trying to fight against time and urbanization, which is great. We want this community around us because we want to have a community that can come out here and learn and enjoy and become connected to nature. But it's figuring out a way to cultivate the kind of community that supports us rather than harms us.
Okay, well, are you willing to take some questions?
Would love to take some questions. We would love nothing.
Everybody will have to unmute if you want to ask a question. Anybody got a question?
I do. I'm Susan Cooper.
Hello, Susan.
Hi,
Yes,
Susan.
hi. Are there trails so that visitors can actually wander among the woods and the grasses And what do you do to make, if there are trails, what do you do to make it easier for people who have difficulty walking?
We do have 6 miles of trails. They differ depending on the trail. We do have some that are slightly more level that go through our prairie areas. Right now, we're actually working on slowly turning one of our trails into an accessible trail. So that's progressing nicely. We're
It'll be done in
excited about
November,
that.
though.
Done in November. There we
Yeah,
go.
The
So
contract got signed recently. It's going to be completely paved, and I think ADA compliant when it's done. I think I did hear that. So it's about a half mile round trip.
It's probably our shortest trail, but it's us breaking ground into a new format there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Looking at your picture, living a suburban life and looking at your pictures, they're so beautiful. It's hard to believe that it's just a few miles from Richardson.
I know. It's crazy. A lot of people, even in our area, don't know that we're here. We're kind of this little protected pocket. And it's beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I last visited the Heard Museum, it must have been 12 years ago, and I had no idea how extensive it was. And it sounds like you may have undertaken a change in direction for managing the property. Is that
12 years? Probably, yes.
Very much so.
Yeah, I think early on, again, this was before my time, but from my understanding, very early on, we were much more of a science-based organization. And our focus recently, I would say, has become a little bit more education-based, which isn't a bad thing. We're just not doing the same level of research that we were before.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I was there a few years ago, and saw a guy taking a group of people around identifying native plants. Do you still offer that kind of educational program?
Absolutely. Yep. Guided trails are available for any group. We have an amazing team of both docents and educators. The things that we offer, there's a lot of variety there. In the spring, we're able to have a couple canoe programs out on the wetlands. We do night hikes occasionally when the weather is nice. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Now, keep in mind with that, due to COVID, you probably want to check the website to make sure that traditionally available things are still available, because a lot of our docents and trail guides are people over the age of 65, being in that at-risk crowd. Some of them have opted to kind of stay away.
Take a break.
Yeah, so we don't have as much of that as we used to, unfortunately, but you might just, go on the website, because we update it. We know who's going to be where, what we're going to offer, etc. So,
but guided trails are something that's still current. Day guided trails are something that's still currently happening. I'm doing them, so I know.
Have you
sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Robert. I haven't been to a lot of these. Going back to prairie restoration, I did a little bit of work on that at Austin College when I was up there about 10 years ago at the Sneed Prairie. And I know they also, in addition to doing controlled burns and mows, they would also occasionally have people bring like a limited amount of cattle on there to do like a controlled grazing to like emulate, the bison and stuff like that. Is that something you guys do or consider doing? Or
We have not, because we don't have that available as a partnership at this time.
Okay.
It's not something we would write off by any means. It just takes the right partner.
Yeah, we actually did toss the idea around last year, believe it or not. And when we thought about if you rented a pack of bison, okay, our prairie sites are all under 10 acres apiece. So they're beautiful and they've got a lot of diversity, but they don't interconnect just because when the herd was started, it was already so forested over that the prairie sites were fragmented. And so kind of maneuvering the bison to and from each site and then having enough graze for them to be here for a while, we're kind of like, we can't really do it. We're not big enough, so.
Yeah.
That's my question. Thank you.
The size of your prairie is such that it's really hardly worth moving that. It'd be a small number of cattle.
Yeah,
And
just one or two.
It would not pay the guy. You might look for a volunteer that has the small ranchette with just a few cows.
Yeah, that's what I'm. It would have to be the right partnership.
Yeah, and you will have to look around for that because we're talking a relatively few head of cattle.
Yes, definitely. Only a couple for sure.
Do you guys know Eric Newpert of the Blackland Prairie Raptor Center?
We do work with the Blackland Prairie Raptor Center. They come out and help us with programs occasionally, so we do have a relationship with them. I am not in contact myself.
Okay. Eric used to work at the herd.
Oh, wonderful.
Something happened and he left.
Was he the old herd Raptor Center manager?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen him in the scrapbooks, so we know of him. We've seen his face.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions we have for Brittany and Spencer?
One more question.
Yes.
This goes along with what Dan asked, I guess. Do you have programs specifically for adults, or are they all just kids programs?
No, absolutely programs for adults as well. We have a large variety of groups that come out. Of course, school groups are our most frequent visitors, but no, we see groups of all types.
Night hikes are a hit with adults. Usually the way a night hike will go is people show up with kids. They'll do a shorter trail, like one of the half-mile ones, and then we've got our more adult-geared trail guides who will take all the adults out to the nether reaches of the property to go really experience our 289 acres in the dark. So night hikes, not sure if we're doing them now, but we will again sooner rather than later if we're not, as big as they are. So that may be something you'd be interested in is getting out here at night.
Yeah, do you guys do an owl prowl?
Yeah,
Kids really love it when
we're looking for whatever we can see, but sometimes we do theme it more around our native owls.
Well, one thing you can always count on is getting those little hoot owls, screech owls to come in. If you have a call recorded, they will come right and look in your face.
I know.
To defend their territory against another screech owl. Kids love that.
Absolutely.
I was going to add.
It's Susan again. I have another question.
Okay.
If we were to take a trail, are we likely to meet any animals that we would really prefer not to encounter?
I would say it's unlikely, but certainly not impossible. I have encountered certainly copperheads on the trail, and we of course have copperheads, cottonmouths, and rattlesnakes on property. Other than that, our larger animals like our coyotes and bobcats, they're out here, but you're not going to see them.
I see. Thank you.
Of course.
I would like to say that in addition to what the herd has there, you do have some partners like with the Audubon, the Prairie and Timbers Audubon Society. They used to have walks, and they will have walks again as soon as this COVID is over.
They
and
do
you have the
walks out here and their meetings are here. And then they also head up our bird banding station. So still a little bit of research going on out here. We have the longest running bird banding station in Texas. So they still take care of that, as well as a few of our nest boxes.
What kind of birds do you?
As well as you have the Native Plant Society, they do walks as well. They used to. So there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the last time Native Plant Society did a walk was, but I do know that they have done them in the past.
I think that they ended up, I can't remember if it was them or somebody else, but somebody did a virtual prairie flower walk here in May. And I want to say it was Nipsot, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Lightning bugs behind us.
Oh,
I'm distracted.
Yeah.
I have a question.
On the bird banding, who does the bird banding? Who has the permit?
Audubon.
Audubon. Do
Yeah.
they use? Are they doing passerines and using mist nets or what?
Yes, they're using mist nets. They have a couple different stations set up that are permanent, where obviously the nets come up and down, but it's the same spot every time. So they hold the permits. They take care of all of it. You know, herd staff really aren't involved at all unless we choose to be on a volunteer basis. I believe they had their last session, I think it was last week or so, in the last couple weeks, and they had 50 species. No, 50 species is how many we found total. I'm sorry. I think the other week they had 12 or so.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm sorry, I have two dogs wrestling next to me, so I'm trying to hold them off camera here. But I wanted to know, what are your greatest needs from the public?
Greatest needs from the public?
Like, what's your greatest?
Money.
Well, besides money.
I didn't want to say it.
Besides money. Yeah.
Other than money, we do need partnerships. We do need sponsors. We need visibility, especially in our local community. You know, visibility for people to know that we're here and to want to become members and to learn more about us, so that we can hopefully do a little bit of education and help us be more of a community.
And if you're in McKinney city limits, I don't know if anybody is, or if you have friends or family who are, this upcoming election, we need votes, because we were talking about that concrete plant that's rumored to go. Ultimately, okay, that's a rumor, but that whole area is zoned industrial. So it doesn't matter if it's a concrete plant or a steel mill or what have you. Something industrial is going to be bordering our most sensitive research area on the property just across Wilson Creek, right? This property cannot sell without permission from we the voters. And our wish is to kind of get out the vote for residents of McKinney so that parkland does not sell. Because it's originally designed to be a big park system with hike and bike trails, and they were really going to turn the old landfill into something, you know, nice. I mean, it's a landfill, so take that with a grain of salt, but you know, it was not supposed to be an industrial area, part of a 2008 plan. And now they're trying to sell that 55 acres. So we need voters to go vote no on the sale.
Is that the city of McKinney or that's city?
It is currently City of McKinney Parks and Recreation land, labeled for green space, but it is up for sale. And from what we understand, of course, we want to be friends with Parks and Rec, City of McKinney. But from what we understand, they don't need the money from the sale. So I don't feel bad not wanting it to happen.
Brittany, I actually just sent you an email because this is something that Conservation and the Dallas Sierra Club would love to assist you with. I grew up in your neck of the woods. I still live in your neck of the woods. And so I think if we can get the word out, there will be a ton of opposition to this. And I will tell you, I still live over there and I have heard nothing about this, which tells you they're really trying to sweep it under the rug.
We just found out about it a couple weeks ago. And it was by chance that we found out about it. It was not, it wasn't easy to find out.
Yeah,
But that's how the cities do it. So I've emailed you. Let's have a serious conversation about what we can do going forward immediately, like within the next week, what we can start doing to get this out. Because, November is about 2 months away. So
I know,
we want to hustle.
Yeah. But
Yes.
yeah, so that's, an immediate specific need, but generally, some visibility, some love,
Yeah.
and with that will come the other things that we need.
Dan, perhaps we could look at also the Sierra Club doing a sponsorship with the Heard Museum. That would be a question for our board, but perhaps we could examine that as well.
We could, if we would need to have some sort of a substantial proposal for what we were going to do. Are you talking money or manpower or both?
Well, we're
what would you?
Yeah.
You need money, right?
We need both. We've actually, with COVID, we've lost a very large number of volunteers, who are respectfully keeping their distance. But it's hit us hard in multiple ways. So we are happy to see your beautiful faces out here in a casual setting, in a we're ready to get dirty setting, or however that looks best to you guys.
To put it in perspective, our animal care department had about 30 part-time volunteers who would show up weekly or bi-weekly, and they would diversify the animal care needs for our animal exhibits here in the museum and out on the animal trail. Now I think we've got 2 that are still here. So we lost 28 volunteers as a result of all this. And, so that puts into perspective how much the manpower has hurt here.
Yes. Well, let's talk about all of this as soon as we can, because I think there's a lot that we can do, and I can personally do with my local advocacy groups that I think hopefully will make a difference. So the email is on its way to you as we speak.
Sounds great.
Okay, are there any other questions for Brittany and Spencer? Nothing?
No.
Well, we thank you for showing up and giving us this nice presentation.
Thank you so much for having us. It's really
in my mind, the herd is famous. But of course, I'm a wildlife biologist, and so I guess that's a difference. It's not famous, I guess, with Joe Blow.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously something we're both very passionate about. So it's definitely our pleasure to be able to talk about it and share it with you guys. So thank you so much.
Well, when you talk to Victoria, you can, we have done trail maintenance and things like that in the past on other areas. A lot of times they're down in South Dallas, underserved areas.
Yes.
So McKinney's not exactly an underserved area, but but in this day and time, the pandemic has created financial problems for almost all volunteer organizations or nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, and
we're included in that.
Yeah, we are right there with you, so we fully understand. And of course, not to complain, but we're obviously experiencing a lot of shortened hours as well for staff. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? No questions or comments?
I was just going to say, Paul did post a link in chat to the article about the that piece of property you were talking about. So everybody check that out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So that 55-acre piece of property is owned by the City of McKinney Department of Recreation or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually remember sitting in the break room in 2017 when I worked there, and they were having conversations about how they were going to transform the old landfill into a new hike and bike system, and it was supposed to be a big piece of open space because the McKinney Parks and Recreation Department's title is Parks, recreation and open space, and they were trying to incorporate more of that open space. And I guess that's not the plan anymore.
Well, what usually happens in these situations is the people who want to develop the land have gotten to people on the town council or the mayor or somebody, and they've pressured them.
Yeah.
You said it. I was just thinking it.
Well, we have a lot. We have Sierra Club has been doing this for many decades at the national level as well as at local level. So we know what's going on. We have a political committee that supports. We give funding to certain candidates that are consistent with our view of nature and the environment. So Victoria, when you talk to them, I don't know if you guys know much about your local politics situation or not. Who they are, who are your town?
Not as much as I should.
Yeah, I know them. I know a few of them pretty well, just having worked there.
Yeah.
And obviously there's quite a few that I don't know, but I mean, I know who our council members are, who the mayor is, who the directors of said departments are. So.
Well, I think too, the other interesting thing, and I think could bring us some leverage as we go into this, is you border Fairview and Lucas. And so their municipalities will have a say in this because it's going to affect them directly.
Wonderful.
So I think that's going to be, Paul, I may be emailing you on this as well, and we'll have a conversation. And, I'm not opposed to petitions and all of that. We've done it before. I'm glad to do it again. So I also have an in with the Scouts of America, and no one turns down a cute little scout that comes to your door talking about pollution. So we'll get it done.
Awesome. And if I can actually brought up one more thing, I'm sorry to drag it on. Just talking about those of you who might be local or know someone that's local. There is a See It, Say It program as far as water goes that we've tried to raise the awareness for that runoff coming in from the community next to us from that subdivision. So just if you're looking for easy things to jump on. And
Okay. Well, John, you know some politicians up in that area, don't you? John Linden.
Do know some. Yeah. Not that far north, not McKinney or suburbs, mainly just Plano.
Twist some arms, John.
They don't twist for me.
No.
But there's no harm in trying.
Of course, we can always get Victoria. You can always talk to David Griggs. He knows all the politicians at every level in this entire North Texas area.
I will tell you, the Heard Museum is personal for me. I was one of your students back in the 80s and the late 70s. So spent decades there. One of my dearest friends used to be one of your master naturalists, Greg Hayden. So
he just moved to New Mexico. I actually was on a phone call with him the other day with Bill Woodfin. So yeah.
So Karen, our dearest friends, and so yes, this is personal for me. So I promise you involvement. Thank
you.
That's wonderful.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else to be talked about or asked, then I believe the program is over. And I think this meeting could adjourn now.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll work with you, and once the pandemic passes, hopefully it will. we can also discuss volunteer efforts like trail cleaning and that kind of maintenance stuff, because we have a program that does that.
Wonderful. We'd love to have you guys out.
We go on day hikes and do that kind of work. Okay, well, the meeting is adjourned then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, John, for hosting.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Talk to you later, everybody. Goodbye.
See you later. Bye-bye.